2-for-1 Jack, splat, just like that. Bringing you tons of information, that's where he's at. He goes around town covering topics you'd like to know. Well, that's what you get when you tune in to the 2-for-1 Jack Show.
Graduate from North Colorado. He is strongly in pursuit of peace through passion. I'm not familiar with his work, so I look forward to hearing him. Welcome, Brandon Nieves.
This is my experience. I just ask that you all listen closely, please. I'm young. Spit with my tongue, listen to what others have sung, and from their lung they brung, flung, slung acidic dung that melts your face, stronger than mace, wind do, in the force, oppression that's been given to you. I can't really breathe, my insides seethe as I watch the innocent hung on this noose your ancestors strung. My words, I hope they do more than stung. Stab, slice, slit, you snitch witch, this is gonna lead to the need of at least 23 stitch. Is my rhymes together, I fight the oppressor as I climb the successor. Our nation is the convicted aggressor. America has been proven guilty of genocide. Specialized spermicide, falsified parasite, rectified with pesticide. Televised, generalized in order to desensitize what needs to be emphasized, clarified, testified to our ignorant nation that thinks our backyard is still a plantation. Get mad at my attack, go ahead, it's my life's vocation. Let my art be your salvation, if not then damnation. Summation, translation, to shut me up you'll need a sedation. Stop. Hear me out. Let me pose a question. What gives you the right to reckon? The fact that your privilege is handed down given? Do you also think so low of women? Is that your honest confession? That equality is an impossible connection? Shut up. Sit down. Class is in session. Learn my lesson of aggression. Make war on oppression. If you truly care for me, she, he, let your mission be progression. But I see from your reaction, lacking comprehension, have left no impression. Instead, I've given you an unhealthy obsession with your undeserved possession. Well, let me ask you another question. What if it was your children fighting deportation, being slaughtered on the streets at age 11? 7? Would you stand so idly while your inside's dead? And do you understand your fortune that concept is foreign? Cause I felt my first burn of oppression at age 11. A grown-ass man at his doorway standing pretends to protect his kin by commanding me to bleach my skin. Only then do I get permission to hang out with his kids, go swimming, hide and seek, playing. This man, ridden with sin, taught me the difference between forgiveness and reconciliation. It's a balance attained from within. But your intent floods my senses stronger than gin. This has all been birthed by America's original sin. No one would care if on me you dropped the firing pin. Not like the audience crying when Burr shot Hamilton. Thank you.
Our next speaker is United States Army veteran Eric Mulder. Mr. Mulder knows something about war. After 6 years in the Army, including deployment to Afghanistan, he has become an advocate for peace in his community, as a member of About Face Veterans Against War, and as a member of the Libertarian Party of Colorado. Please welcome Mr. Eric Mulder.
For 16 years, the United States government has been waging a military campaign against a subjective ideological construct known as the war on terrorism. In true Orwellian fashion, this war is not waged with an end state in mind, but instead is a reactionary policy of containment to be carried out indefinitely. When pressed for deadlines and objectives, politicians shrug their shoulders and say, "That's just how it is," while their pockets are heavy with coins from an insatiable war machine that incentivizes these destructive campaigns at the expense of human lives. Under the pretense of liberating oppressed people, this war machine instead terrorizes the very people it claims to bestow freedom upon. Afghans are afraid to leave their home, worried that their families will become the next minimized casualties when a drone strike hits their village. Somalians resent the military campaign that does nothing about foreign encroachers stealing fish from their waters. And Libyans who once enjoyed one of the highest standard livings of Africa are now living under a civil war between their government and violent groups, a clash that has been made worse from U.S. government operations using Libya as a distribution center for black market firearms that find their way into the hands of the same terrorists the U.S. government claims to be against. With its never-ending hunger for profit at the expense of human lives, the war machine now turns its gluttonous towards Korea, a potential conflict with the threat of nuclear devastation shadowing over it. To the people of South Korea, the North is not a country they have just been at war with. The North is fellow Koreans. It is long-separated family members who have been prevented from reuniting thanks to a war that has been ongoing but paused for about 64 years. With no regard for the will of the Korean people, the U.S. government beats the drums of war against North Korea, calling for a fire and fury that will bring nuclear genocide to millions of people who are merely 120 miles apart from one another. This zeal for death and destruction by our government at the behest of war profiteers in the name of liberation can be tolerated no longer. We gather today to remind those who call for fire and fury that the terrible price of war is not paid with dollars and cents, but is paid with the loss of the people who have no say in the matter. There is no victory in creating a state of perpetual fear through indiscriminate destruction of the people we set out to liberate. To do so is to harbor the same terrorist ideations the government claims are incompatible with freedom and liberty for all. Peace can only be achieved when policymakers understand that the terrible price of war is being paid with lives that aren't their own. If we truly believe in the principles of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, we must first seek not to wage war, but to always wage peace.
Our next speaker truly needs no introduction. She is our friend and yours, Colorado State Representative for District 8, Leslie Herod.
All right. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah. All right. Well, I am Representative Leslie Herod. I represent you right here at the state capitol. And I am proud to be the first African-American LGBT person to openly hold office right here in Colorado. And I say that because guess what? Identity does matter, right? It's important that we say who we are and that we are proud of it, right? You guys are here to support not just one type of Coloradan, not just one type of person here, but for all of us, right? So it is my honor to be here with you all who are here spreading love and peace and have done so for a long time. 53 years ago, the Civil Rights Act was passed, putting an end to legal segregation. Over the course of the next 50 years, people of color continued to fight for an equal place in society. And as the events of the last 2 weeks have demonstrated, we are still having that fight today. Let me tell you that after watching the events unfold in Charlottesville, I was furious. I was angry, I was upset, and I was hurt. I confess that when I first thought about what I was going to say here today to you, I thought I would yell and scream and say awful things about the leaders that we have put in charge to lead us out in Washington. I wanted to rail against their sympathetic views of Nazi, the KKK, and other white supremacists. But then I took a step back. I reminded myself of the words of leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He reminds us that hate begets hate, that violence begets violence, that toughness begets a greater toughness, and that we must meet the forces of hate with love. Now, I will confess that it's hard to talk about love, right? When I see swastikas in my community, right? It's hard to talk about love. When I see people carrying torches and wearing hoods, it's hard not to want to fight back with every strength that I have. I know you guys feel the same way, right? But here's the thing. We are fighting back. We are fighting back with a weapon that they don't have. And they have no means to defend against it. Instead of hate, we use hope. Instead of seeing darkness in others, we see their light. Instead of painting a picture of division and despair, we paint a vision of peace and love and equality. Now, just yesterday, something beautiful happened. In Boston, a small group of hateful bigots gathered in Boston Commons, and they were met by 40,000 peaceful protesters. These protesters were people of all colors, races, and creeds, and they were coming together in love to overcome hate. And they won, right? And right here in Denver, just up the street at Shorter AME, Pastor Timothy Tyler led a group of 1,000 white folks to come together to figure out how to become even better allies. I must say that this outpouring of support is incredibly encouraging, and we must work on our own stuff. But there is still a lot of work to do. I do wish that Dr. King could be with us today to help us through these dark times. But it is up to all of us to pick up the light that he left us and to blaze a path forward, driving away the shadow of darkness that has come across our great nation. Will you join me and carry the lights? Will you? Because the more of us that do, the brighter it will shine. Will you work against intolerance and hatred and whenever it appears? Will you stand up for people of color, people of Jewish heritage, Muslims, and everyone else who the white supremacists target with their hate? Will you speak up for our trans family members in their battle to gain acceptance in our communities? Will you stand shoulder to shoulder with people with disabilities who are fighting for Medicaid and fighting for their lives? Now, I will tell you that now is not the time to remain silent. If you truly want to carry the light, you must speak up. Now, it won't be easy, right? You'll get tired, you'll get scared, and you'll just be done. But guess what? There's so many of us that feel that feeling every single day. And we need you there fighting with us. Will you fight with us? Now, we know what happens when you remain silent. When you remain silent, you only encourage the hateful behavior. You guys are not here today to remain silent anymore, are you? We must always speak up. I will always speak up. We must let our voices be heard. You guys, I want to hear you right now tell Denver that your voices will be heard and that you will speak up for all of us. Let's hear it, you guys. Pretty incredible, you guys. Look at all your friends who are here today, right? Look next to you. These are your partners in the fight. You guys will stand together and use your love and light to overcome hate. Now, I am going to take a moment to do something that all of my political advisors have advised me not to do. They do that a lot. But I do want to take a minute and thank Senator Cory Gardner for speaking up. I know, I heard you guys are like, well, maybe. I get it. Look, I understand. I agree with Cory Gardner on almost every single issue, okay? I get it. But I must say that though he has been a steadfast supporter of his party and the leaders who have been beating the drums of war and hate, I truly do believe that anyone can change. After Trump's deafening silence in the events in Charlottesville, Cory spoke up. He called hateful people white supremacists and their actions an act of terrorism. He did this in many cases before the press did. And by speaking up, he helped change the language and dialogue about what was happening. They were no longer white nationalists. They were no longer patriots. They were white supremacists. Now, Corey has a lot of work to do to make up for his prior support of this administration. But I do applaud him for taking one step in the right direction. None of us is perfect. We've all made mistakes. But that is why it is so important. It's so important to hold love in our hearts, to give our opponents the opportunity to change, to let them see by our example that there is a better way, that together we can make our future brighter. This is how we use peace and love to fight against hate and fear and war. This is our path forward, right? This is our path forward. Together, each of us carrying a small amount of light will make that change. Will you carry your light with us? I'm Leslie Harrod. I just want to thank everyone for being here today, and thank you for your ongoing support. You're beautiful and you're amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Harrod. Our next speaker is Angela Bibbins. She is a Santee Dakota attorney. She coordinated the legal support services for water protectors at Standing Rock for 6 months. Welcome, Angela Bibbins.
Ampete washte mitakiape. Chante ashte nape machuziape. Angela Bibbins imachiape. Damakota Ieska. Good afternoon, my relatives. My name is Angela Bibbins. I'm Santee Dakota, Bedewakantawan, Ihangtawan by heritage. My dad was an enrolled member of the Santee Sioux Nation in northeast Nebraska. I was called by my relatives last August. I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary of landing on the ground at Standing Rock to be the coordinator for the legal services that my relatives needed to fight the state repression and the colonial power that exists in our culture yet today. So I just want to honor the water protectors first, in particular the youth who started that movement. I was not as brave 2 years ago. I was a suburban housewife. And it was my relatives' willingness to put their bodies on the line for their very principled and courageous beliefs that inspired me to make that journey to North Dakota and act in their defense. And I ask you to display that courage. I ask you, in standing up to white supremacy, in standing up to the institutional racism that my relatives experience every day. So I am Ieska. Ieska means mixed blood, but it also means translator. I speak a little Dakota, I speak legalese, and I speak... It's true. And I speak English. And I walk in 3 worlds. I walk in this white world where I pass, and I am sort of undercover from time to time, although Standing Rock outed me in a big way. And I am, with my relatives, Dakota, and I have this third culture, right? Like, is mixed culture. And I'm proud of it. And I use my white passing privilege as leverage. I use it. I use it in the courtroom to confront one of the most powerful institutions of colonialism and suppression in our nation. Not everybody has the kind of access that I do as an attorney, but you have those moments every day in your workplace, in your social settings, with your families, to make that small difference which could be a huge difference for somebody who's a person of color in this country. So think about those opportunities. Think about the courage. Take that inspiration from the water protectors. Take that inspiration from your neighbors who are dealing with these racist institutions every day. It is a small sacrifice to do what we need to do to dismantle the 500-year legacy of white supremacy and colonial power in this country. I ask you, please remember my relatives in this struggle, because we are not gone. We are not museum relics. We are not written out of the history books. We are current. We are a people that is strong, professional, educated, intelligent, wise, and powerful. And we honor your struggle as well. We are here in solidarity. This community, my relatives who live here, who live on the reserves, who walk in all of the worlds I've talked about, they are doing this work as well. And have faith that good, well-principled people can and will make change. This is the prayer of Standing Rock, that we have four different stages of ceremony. The first stage is the preparation. The second stage is the commitment. The third stage is the ceremony. And the fourth stage is reflection after the ceremony. And that period of reflection lasts as long as the ceremony did. And that ceremony lasted over a year at Standing Rock. So we are in this powerful period of reflection where we are taking the lessons that we've learned and we are looking for other ways to apply them, because when the camps were evicted on February 23rd, it was not the end of that story. That we have taken that powerful fire of the Ocheti Shakuin, the seven councils fire, and we have scattered it to the four directions of Turtle Island, and we will prevail in our mission for peace and justice. Nina, Hecha, Wopita Tonka. Thank you, my relatives. Mitakiwase. We are all related.
Thank you, Angela Bibbins. Next we have Dylan Jeffrey Lenz. Dylan is a non-binary poet and a radical activist. Please welcome Dylan.
I'm just here to talk about this event and read some poems about this fucking statue. Sorry. Yeah, so I'm organizing a protest to remove it. You can check out the flyer when I'm done. I'm going to get started. I'd like to thank Queen Phoenix for organizing this event. My name is Dylan Joffrey Lenz. I'm a non-binary 26-year-old vegan person of color. I'm here today to talk about the poison that is white supremacy. It has infiltrated every aspect of this world. It has defined a beauty and brought mass incarceration. But it's not just us. The whole world is in starvation. Slavery is alive. Those in power are reckless. Why are there still people wearing a noose instead of a necklace? Even some of our daily speech is rooted in their hate. I've heard it all time and time again. Self-hate relates to oppression and perpetuates this Nazi state. Your words and thoughts can move mountains or defile and rape God's own fountains. It is our duty to use our privilege of free speech to liberate everyone. Trump was asked what he thought the biggest problem in the world was. To be honest with you, I never remembered because I knew it wasn't my truth. But if you ask me, it's a lack of empathy for people who have less than you, physical or mental. This statue is disgusting. This murderer deserves no recognition. After all the wealth and lives taken, all the state could muster up was a brand new plaque. Fuck that! Give native land back! 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 At this time, I'd like to read a poem by Miss Nyambi and Miss Twandwe. Together they form Manhattan vocal group Ocean. Observe, brothers, observe, sisters. Uncle Sam, Uncle Tom, Big Brother, the whole family is coming for your left fist. Picket signs ain't gonna make change. Learn your principles. You rep in revolution, but you work for the institution. When will you declare your destiny? When will you obliterate all that associates with the forged realities of the day? Insubordination is alive. Young Africans, you are blinded. There will be no resting in peace. There is no alternative. We evolve until your uneasiness is solved. Compliance does not exist. Hear the sound of your alarm. No snooze will soothe the tears on pews. Music, muses, blues and yellows. There will be no resting in peace. What is revolution? What is solution? When no knowledge of the problem, see, do you? I stay woke, stay broke, stay choking on my pride, and if my phone rings, please know that I'm inside myself. My eyes burning blue, for they're sizing up your time to be through. Since before I was born, they tried to say what I am. Allow me to spit this in hopes you understand. I am the black dog, your seven-headed beast. I was born a 7, named 11, don't call me priest. I was raised up in Denver, Edwardsville and the Chi. Gang bang is my family, I wear blood with pride. I'm sick of the narrative of us killing our own people.
It's 2 for 1 Jack, splat, just like that. Bringing you tons of information, that's where he's at. He goes around town covering topics you'd like to know. Well, that's what you get when you tune in to the 2 for 1 Jack Show. It's 2 for 1 Jack, splat, just like that. Bringing you tons of information, that's where he's at. He goes around town covering topics